Everyone today is trying to be unique in their own way. But no matter how hard they try to be unique and try to be an individual in their own right, there's always some things that we're always going to have in common no matter what. Very rarely do we find ourselves having a lot in common with every bit of the other 8 billion people in the world. But we have more common with the rest of the population than you might think. Itches. Everybody gets itchy. Doesn't matter if you have a skin rash or you have poison ivy or you just exist. Your body will itch in some way and requires you to scratch it. And your brain is gonna fucking tell you to fucking scratch it because you're that desperate to do it. And the worst kind of itch to get in a public environment is the kind that requires a deep excavation of your fingers into your ass crack. You know the ones I'm talking about. They sometimes come after a long ricocheting fart that sounds like a machine gun, or sometimes they just come out of fucking nowhere and at the most inopportune times. You're just in a meeting at your job or taking photos with relatives at a wedding, or you're at your mate's funeral. You want to be respectful and not move around too much, but something's telling you to bring the pickaxe to your asshole because it's itching like fucking mad. And it's one of the weirdest, motions you have to create in a public environment. Now, this section is for the guys. We all go through this stuff, and we suffer greatly for it. Picture it, and your mind might actually make you itch there. It's a hot summer's day, or any day, and for some reason, your marble sack decides, I'm gonna stick to the inner thigh. Now, this is more common than ever, and I'm sure it gets worse as you get older. As it sticks to your inner thigh, it decides to suddenly peel itself off like Velcro on a sticky wall, and it itches badly. But in any public environment or any of the scenarios I mentioned, it's one of the worst times to go ahead and scratch your balls. No matter how desperate your brain's telling you, scratch your nuts, scratch your nuts, scratch your nuts! But this is an inequality channel here, and women go through the same thing just with other parts of the body. And I've seen my wife do this on occasion. Bras or any form of clothing around the breast area tend to chafe the nipples and cause a severe itch. And the only way of getting rid of it is reaching in and giving that titty a good old scratch and twitch. And there's plenty of bad times where you reach in, almost like you're going for a booby gun, but in reality, you're just scratching your nipple because something's chafing up against it. And there's plenty of bad public times where you do this. The worst are during meetings in a work environment. The worst is at a wedding. The worst is at a funeral. There's so many different scenarios that you can think of that puts this awkward motion that you have placed upon yourself with your hands and your fingers in the worst way possible. And here's a question for everybody. Have you ever had a finger itch? Such a weird place to get an itch. And from what I've experienced, most people use their mouth to get rid of these kinds of itches, which I always found kind of strange. Why are we going right for our mouths to get rid of an itch on our fingers? What happened to just using the opposite hand? It looks so strange when you're not doing it yourself, but you witness someone else doing it. Suddenly one person looks like they're cannibalizing themselves across the street from you because they got an itch on their index finger. Without a doubt, the most common itch that a human could get is the back itch. And it's usually on a part of the back where your arms can't reach at all. So, what's the next choice? You do the bear shimmy. To do this shimmying motion to get rid of a back itch, which a lot of bears do in nature, any animal really in nature will scratch their back this kind of way. Bears usually stand on their hind legs and rub it up against a tree trunk to get rid of an itch like this. We do it too. It requires a tall, solid object to lean against and shimmy and shake your back up against like you've invented this awesome new dance craze. And for some reason, if I do this in public or someone else I see doing it in public, I find myself singing the Macarena in my head. Don't ask why. It just seems appropriate. What music do you listen to in your head when you find all these common itches? This is one way of telling everybody that nobody's really that unique. Everybody has common ground somewhere. Thank you guys for watching. Leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.